Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the panel hearing this afternoon. I'll start by going through a round of introductions, if everyone can introduce themselves. So my name is Amanda Pinnock. I'm chair of the panel, and I'll be dealing with the hearing today. If I can go over to my colleague, Councillor Bellamy, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, Councillor Donna Bellamy, Home Valley North Ward.
Councillor Anwar.
Councillor Ahmed Anwar, Dewsbury West Ward.
Legal representative.
Tahir Hanif, Senior Legal Officer.
Licence officer.
Mike Skelton, Senior Licensing Officer.
Applicant.
Chris Broadbent.
Got anyone with you representing you today? No. Thank you. And then I can see we have a number of objectors at the back of the room. I don't know how convenient it is for you to... There is a console in front of some of you. What I'll need you to do is press the console when I indicate for you to speak so that we can hear you loud and clear and so it can be represented on the screen behind me. Okay?
I'm Carolyn Grant.
Do you want to press the console?
Brian Beckingham.
And then press it again when you've finished. Thank you.
Chantal Addy.
Ian Bucknell.
Warren Rimmer.
Councillor Addy for Combe Valley Ward.
Thank you. The councillor at the back there.
Councillor Matthew McLaughlin from Combe Valley Ward.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. So just to confirm that the meeting today is being webcast, which means that members of the public can watch from anywhere online if they choose to. And I need to ask the applicant a question. Have you received the licensing hearing procedure?
Yes.
Which explains how the hearing will be conducted and that you've read and understood the information contained within. Thank you. My understanding is everybody should have received that, actually, not just the applicant. Has everyone received that and understood? Does anyone have any questions at this stage? Okay, thank you. Right, okay, so we'll go through the agenda item and then we will focus on the purpose for what we're here for today. So the first agenda item is in relation to a site visit. So there have been site visits, and what I've asked my technical colleague to do is to have it up on the screen, a Google map of the area, which I think will be of assistance to people who are speaking today in terms of location, proximity, so on and so forth. So that will happen. There we go. It's up on the screen. Minutes of the previous meeting. I think myself and Councillor Anwar, we were both at that meeting. I'm happy to, so those are a correct record. Thank you. Any declarations? Interest to declare? Councillor Bellamy?
I was previously a councillor for Combe Valley Ward, but no longer am. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that.
Thank you, Councillor Bellamy. Councillor Anwar?
No interest to declare.
Thank you. Admissions of the public. It's been webcast, as I've said. Any deputations or petitions?
None received, Chair.
Any public question time? Any questions from members of the public?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll go straight into the reason why we're all here, and it's in relation to an application for grant of premises licence in respect of Bankgate Mills, Bankgate, Slathwaite, Huddersfield, HD7 5DL. Can I begin by asking the licensing officer, please, to outline the application?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Chair. So on the 4th of July of this year, the Licensing Department received an application for the grant of a premises licence for Bankgate Mills. A copy of this application may be seen at Appendix A. The licensable activities applied for by the applicant are as follows. Sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises from Monday to Sunday from noon up until 11 p.m. In total, 18 representations from members of the public have been received relating to this application. The application was also served on responsible authorities, to which no representations were received. One objection was received from the Colne Valley Ward councillors. The representations received consider that the following licensing objectives would not be met should this licence be granted: the prevention of public nuisance, the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, and the protection of children from harm. A copy of all these representations may be seen at Appendix B. To confirm, consultation has taken place in accordance with the Act, and there were no matters arising from responsible authorities. And finally, when determining the application, members, having had regard to the representations, may take such steps as they consider appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Those steps are to grant the licence with appropriate conditions, to exclude from the scope of the licence any licensable activities which relate to the application, or reject the application. Thank you.
Thank you. So later on, we'll get the opportunity to have the objectors make representations in respect of their views in relation to the application. What I'm sort of wanting from you is, in some of those representations, there's talk about parking issues, and I just want to clarify what relates to a licensing issue and what might relate to a planning issue, so we can clarify that from the outset, please. Thank you. And we'll have an opportunity to consider that in more detail a little bit later on with the advice of the legal officer when that time comes. What I should have done is explain that there's been a slight amendment to the agenda in terms of councillors that will be here listening to the application and sitting on the panel. Originally, Councillor Amin was due to attend, but due to ill health, Councillor Amin can't be here, and she's been replaced with Councillor Bellamy. So I just wanted to clarify that point. So, questions. I've asked my question. I'll move over to my colleagues to see if they have any questions. Councillor Bellamy, any questions for the licensing officer? No? Councillor Anwar? No. Thank you. So we'll move straight over to the applicant then. So can I ask the applicant to outline the application and to make representations in support of the application, please?
Right, so my name is Chris Broadbent. I'm an owner of Three Fiends Brew House in Meltham. We've also got a pub in Meltham called the Four Fiend Tap House. We were contacted by the people that bought this mill to come and have a look, because they thought it would make a nice bar. We looked at it and said it's a gorgeous building. So we've applied for a license to have a bar and tap room on the ground floor of this building.
Is there anything else you want to say at this stage? Would it be helpful if we just started asking some questions?
You
to
can
try and
ask
tease
questions,
out
yeah.
some more information in
I mean, I
details?
can give you a bit more about our pub and our ethics and what we're about. So the Fourth Fiend, which we're hoping to replicate here, is a family-friendly, dog-friendly, community-involved public house. I mean, it is quite disappointing towards the amount of objectors, especially the children, protecting children from harm. So if we take an example for today, at 2 o'clock this afternoon in the Four Fiend. We're having a kids crafting session from 2 till 4, and that is something that we do regular in the holidays. Following on from that, at 4:30 we've got kids eat free meals, so families come down from 4:30 till 8:30, and it's a really family friendly environment. We've also been...
Is this your establishment in Melbourne?
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing we try to replicate in Southwark. We've also been nominated by National Camera and Historic England for 2 awards this year, which is one is the Community Pub of the Year. Another one is, I can't remember the exact title, but it's renovating a building into a pub that was not a pub before. And so we're awaiting the results of those nominations.
Okay, Mr. Broadbent, I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I want to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
And about you as a person who's run a similar establishment.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your background? What experience do you have? How have you developed that experience? How do you expect to use that experience at this particular establishment if the application was granted?
Right, so we've run Three Fiends Brew House since 2015 is when we first got the application to, or licence to be able to sell beer. From 2018 is when we went full-time with the brewery, 2 of us. And we, as a brewery, we sell all over, but we've got permanent keg lines all around the local, Home Firth, Slowett, Meltham. In October 21 is when we got the keys to the Four Fiend Tap House. And we've been running that since then. In all that time, I think we've had one, from my recollection, one instance of a complaint for noise, which was rectified. The pub is surrounded by houses. We've had no incidences of fighting, we've had no instances of littering or... The opening hours, the licensing hours are, we've got from 10 in the morning till midnight every day. Our opening hours at the Four Fiend are Monday, Tuesday we close because it's quiet in Meltham, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday we open from 4, close at 10. Thursday again 4, close at 11. Friday is 12 till 11. Saturday is 12 till 11. And Sunday is 12 till 9. We do have live music at the venue, but not all the time. And it's always on a weekend, always either a Friday or a Saturday. Or it could be a Sunday if it's a bank holiday. And since the beginning of June, we've had 5 acts on. So that's roughly once every 2 weeks. Mainly acoustic singer-songwriters. So I know of some, Mason Whittle, who some of you might have heard it, he plays around Slowett and Linthwaite, so he's been a regular of ours. And we have the occasional band in as well. Food-wise, we've got our own food. We've got our own chef Wednesday, Thursday. And then we have pop-up food kitchens Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Friday is from 5 till 9. Saturday is from 12 till 8. And Sunday is 12 till 6. And we get various street food vendors to come and cook for us.
Finished?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask about the application and the proposal. So my understanding is you're not there yet. You haven't moved in, you haven't established anything yet.
We've just applied for a licence.
Just applying for a licence.
Yeah.
So there's no history, it's a blank canvas.
No,
Has there ever been anything similar there before, do you know?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So you mentioned a bar and tap room. I
Yeah.
want to sort of know a little bit more about that. What do you have in mind? What would it consist of? What would the opening hours be? What establishment you'd be running? Would there be live music? Is that what you're proposing? Is there likely to be food? Is it likely to mirror what you said about Meltham?
It's likely to mirror what we said about Meltham. It's a bigger building, so we might be open, but we'll have to wait and see what the... We don't know until we get in.
I mean, it's really difficult because we've got a decision to make.
Yeah.
We've got a number of people at the back of the room who want to understand. They're here to object, but to
Yeah.
be fair, none of us really know what your intentions are, what your
Well, the
proposals
intentions
are.
are to be a tap room for our beers. So it'll be our beers, which is what we sell in the Four Fiend. And then wine, cocktails, coffee.
And in terms of opening hours and what you'll be doing there, we know that obviously you wanted to be selling alcohol. You're going to be selling coffee, it's going to be food.
Yeah.
What days of the week you're likely to open. I think these are the things that, you know, people in this room really want to get to understand.
Well, it's likely to be similar to the Four Fiend.
All right, I'll stop there and see whether my colleagues have any questions.
Yeah.
Councillor Bellamy?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to know a little bit more about, you've mentioned that you do kids craft sessions and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, community stuff in Meltham. Is that a plan for this one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And just a little bit more on how they work, how, you know, that works within sort of a licensed area, so how that works.
Right, so we work with a company called Hoonian, and they go around a number of venues in around Huddersfield doing similar things. They come in, so they provide all the crafting experience. So they advertise through us, and people pay Hoonian when they arrive. So I think it's £3 per child. It's from 2 till 4 today. You can either turn up at 2 all the way through, or you can just do an hour, half hour. Sorry, what else did you ask?
Just how that works within, you know, licensed premises. Are you open as a licensed premise at the same time as that's happening?
Our licence is from 10 in the morning, so yeah.
Yeah.
So the parents can have a drink, yeah, while the children are crafting, yeah.
And the other thing was, so are you planning on doing the sort of same thing here as running it as sort of in the days, more like a community venue rather than a, you know, just licensed bar?
It's not a, we are a community-focused establishment. Other things we've done for the community, 30 of us did a marathon walk for Yorkshire Cancer Research this year. So we raised £4,000, and that was me, my business partner Matthew, and 28 of our regulars collectively did a 26-mile walk and raised nearly £4,000 for Yorkshire Cancer Research. A local girl who was going to South Korea for the World Jamboree, they contacted us and asked if they could do a race night in a pub to raise funds. And we said, of course. So they did a race night where we donated towards going to the World Jamboree. I'm on the Meltham Memories Committee, so I get involved in raising funds to better Meltham. We're not people who we're nice people, and we want to create a nice space. I suppose the nearest you've probably got in Slaffway at the minute is the Pato. It's kind of similar, which is just similar to what we do up at Meltham as well.
Councillor Anwar?
Yeah, I've just got a couple of questions for the outside area. I mean, I did do a site visit. My main concern was with the outside area. What do you plan on doing with the smoking area, beer garden, etc.?
At the minute, the owners have not segregated which areas are where. There will be space for a few tables and chairs at the front and some at the back, I believe. So smoking will probably be at the front.
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
So, when you've been making your representations, you've been using, words like we. Is there a team of you?
Well, it's myself who's applied for it, but the people who run the pub. So me and my business partner Matthew, we own 3 Fiends Brewery. The 4 Fiend Tap House is myself, Matthew, and our friend Tessa. Tessa's used to work for Mitchell & Butlers, Marston's in numerous roles. So she runs day-to-day the 4 Fiend Tap House, whereas we run the brewery.
So there's a team of you, which is good.
Yeah.
Custom.
Yeah.
So where are you expecting the custom to come from? Because what I want is a better understanding. So I want to go through some of what the objectors are likely to say, because we've seen the letters or the emails that they've sent.
Yeah.
But I sort of want to understand about customers. Where are these customers likely to come from? Is it going to be outside of the area? They're likely to be parking outside the venue. And if they are, what do you have in mind as to how you're going to deal with any parking?
I'm not sure there's going to be any parking on the site at all, except for our vehicles. I imagine most of the people who'll be coming from the walk-in locality, which is what happens in Meltham.
Right. So are you expecting people to come and park outside the venue?
No, I'm expecting people to walk.
Okay. So you're expecting people from the locality
Yeah.
to be walking to the venue?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just want to cover a little bit what some of the objects...
There's also a train line, isn't there? But half mile.
Sure. I just want to cover some of the things, what the objectors have sort of said in the application, which is important. And later on, we'll get to hear from them. So some of the things that have been said is around noise nuisance, their concerns around noise nuisance, the concerns about disturbance to wildlife, disturbance about what issues I think you pointed out before about crossing, for children to get to and from school. There's been other issues about, people drinking and alcoholism and so on. I just want to sort of understand how you would respond to some of those objections that have been raised.
Well, noise, like I've said, we've only had one, from my recollection, one noise complaint from our current establishment in nearly, it'll be 2 years in October. Noise has never been an issue. Doors, windows closed. I mean, I can only work off the facts from what we've got from a current establishment, and we've had no issues. I don't really understand the children walking past argument. I don't.
I guess we get a little bit more.
Yeah.
But going back to the noise nuisance.
Yeah.
Some of the residents seem to talk about their concern because there'll be live music, that they may have to close their windows. What sort of response would you give to that?
Well, like the example I've just given, that we've had 5 acts on in the since beginning of June. So it's not regular, it's not midweek, it's only on an evening, and it's finished before 10:30, majority of the time.
Just bear with me a second. So one of the objectors talked about preparing food,
Yeah.
the smell of food, and how the odour might impact on their enjoyment of their home. Have you got any response to that? Do you think that's likely to be an issue, or...?
No. I mean, there's plenty of... Well, there's rumpus at the bottom of the road, isn't there?
I'm going to put it out to more questions. So, the licensing officer may have a question.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I've just got 2 questions. Can I just clarify, when you submitted your application,
Yeah.
you submitted a plan of the premise with it as well, which is what the Act says you have to do. It's a hand-drawn, which is fine, it's acceptable. But can I just establish where the licensed area is? Is the licensed area within the physical bricks and mortar of this ground floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the bar will be, so where the main gates in, you've been, have you? Yeah, so where the main gates are at the front, the far end of the building, is where the bar will be.
The reason I asked that question is because, again, you've heard the Chair said about residents' concerns about noise. As long as you understand that you cannot have, or you cannot hold any licensable activities outside. Do you understand that?
As in people can't drink outside?
No, consumption's a different thing.
Right.
But you cannot have a bar outside.
Yeah.
And you cannot have regulated entertainment outside.
Yeah.
You understand that? Okay, I just wanted to establish that.
Yeah.
The other question I've got, Chair, is sort of something that Councillor Anwar touched on around, and yourself that you've mentioned. Your application, you've applied for the sale of alcohol only as a licensable activity. There's been lots of conversation around regulated entertainment and live music. You've not applied for live music as a licensable activity on your licence. So how do you intend to have live music at your premise?
Is it not right that you can have live music before?
So you're doing it under the deregulation of the Live Music Act?
Yeah.
Is that what you're applying for it under?
Yeah.
Do you want me to explain that? So back in 2012, the Live Music Act was created, which essentially deregulated live music totally. It was further deregulated in 2015, I think it was. And normally on a premises licence, you have a series of licensable activities which have timings on them and when those activities can take place. So what you would normally see on a premise licence would be live music taking place inside or outside or both between this time and this time. The deregulation of that, or the formation of the Live Music Act, said that a premise licence, or if a premise has a premises licence and has the on sales of alcohol, then live music can be played between 8 AM and 11 PM up to an audience of 500 people. Okay. That's it, thank you.
My colleague Councillor Anwar has another question.
Unfortunately, on the site visit, we wasn't able to enter the premises, so I would have got a rough estimate on how many people you can actually hold in there. Can you inform me on what your maximum capacity would be on a Friday, Saturday if it was a full bar?
I imagine full. Right, so if you've not been to our pub, we have a lot of the sort of thing. It's not a bar, it is a bar, but we've got loads of tables and chairs. So currently we can fit about 80 covers in our current setting. There, I imagine 100, 120.
So that's 120 people at full capacity?
That's my estimate at the minute.
One more from me. So you're applying for an alcohol sales licence on and off premises?
Yeah, so we sell cans and our own cans and bottles for people to take away, yeah.
Okay. So people buy alcohol and they take it away. Is it monitored what happens when people leave the premises? What I'm sort of getting at is, again, back to what the objectors are saying, the concerns about noise nuisance, people leaving the premises, the impact of that.
No.
What's the situation in Meltham? How does that work?
It's like an off licence. So
Okay.
it's no different from you going to the supermarket. I live in the centre of Home Firth where there's a Sainsbury's on to 11. You can go in and get your drinks and take them home. It's the same.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask the objectors if they have any questions, and it's questions that I'm looking for, not comments. You'll get your opportunity to have your say, and I'm not going to remember everyone's name. So could you just raise your hand? Fantastic. So we'll start with the lady on the right over there. Question, please.
I've got a couple of questions to do with the plans.
Yeah.
When I first contacted the licensing department, I was sent a plan that didn't have this red marking, and the application said it was for the whole of the ground, it was for the ground floor. Is it this plan that was in the pack that you're only using this area, or are you using the whole ground floor? Because that's what I was given first.
Yeah.
That's the whole ground floor. And this was in the pack that just shows a red box. It's a bit squashed, I think, because it's been put on, it's been shrunk a bit.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Is it page 19
Sorry,
that
it's
you're
page
referring
19,
to?
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the one that's in the pack, page 19.
Yeah.
And this is, you can see it's kind of the same. It's like that, but it's been squished. But this, so that
Right,
red
so
box corresponds to this area.
It does. So the flat at the front, I think that's that, and that stairs up to the flat. So that I think that's the toilets.
So that's going to be a 3-bed,
I think that's the toilets.
your
Yeah.
toilets,
Yeah.
if you got it
And then
right.
I believe. And then that's some stairs that go up to a 3-bedroom apartment, which kind of says this on the first floor.
Okay. And this bit at the back then, do you have that too?
That
As
will
part-
be the cold store. So our bar will be along this line here,
Right.
and our cold store where we keep our cold beers will be there.
Right, so essentially it's the whole of this plan, not just that bit in red. Because that came in the pack, you see, and that's why I was a bit
Right.
confused.
Can I ask for some clarity so that everybody knows what you're referring to and we're on the same page?
On page 19,
19, so I'm assuming,
the red is the dark bit.
Is
we've
the
got.
dark?
Yeah, we printed
Yeah.
it.
so what you're referring to is the extension of that, the 8.8?
So it's the
and
whole
what that
of
refers
that
to.
area then, is it? That you'll be having the whole of this?
This is the one that I had. So
Right.
That's yeah. It's the all of the ground floor.
Right, okay, thank you. So it's not the bit that's on page 19 then? It's the whole of it, not just the bit that's highlighted?
Okay.
Chair, can I, it's the red area indicates the licensed area. That's where licensable activities can take place. Not where
Okay.
beer can be stored or anything like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Sorry, it's just this is totally alien to us.
That's okay.
So that was one thing I wanted to ask. The other thing is with you've applied for indoors and outdoors. Again, I might be asking a daft question. I don't know. What are you said that you wanted some tables outside,
Yeah.
but also that you're not expecting any parking apart from your vehicles. How many members of staff would you have working, do you think, in any shift, including like restaurant staff and so on?
Again, at the moment, it's pretty much guesswork, but I imagine 4 or 5.
4 or 5, and they might all have vehicles.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be customer. It's very unlikely there'll be customer parking
Right.
within that space.
Because, I mean, I know that area well. You can see where that white van is.
Yeah.
That's actually near an access route, I think,
Right.
that goes to the back, because there's another large multi-storey property at the back.
Yeah.
So if you put in 4 or 5 vehicles and your drinking area,
Yeah.
and presumably you'll have waste as well, what sort of waste bins would you need?
Well, we currently got a bottle bin, and we'll have a large waste bin.
So where would they go?
Outside the property.
Right.
So in this area over here?
Yeah.
So that area is for shared access route to the back, parking, tables and chairs, waste, a 3-bedroom flat and other units.
Yeah.
Use. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brian Beckingham. My question is in relation to Chris's outlined, a very good attitude, and I respect that. But the problem is, I've been outside the Meltham site, and Meltham site is in the centre of Meltham, lots of entertainment, lots of activities, as the centre of Slough is. Yeah, sorry. As a resident, I live less than 20 metres away from where you're planning to do this. The noise, the customer, I'm 77, I have health issues, as do other people. The question is, how are you going to stop the noise affect the residents? Because we're so close. In Meltham, you haven't got that. You're in a different area. Here, we're in a residential area. It's a totally different area. Have you considered that in your planning and thinking about it?
We do have houses closer, but we've got 2 flats adjoined to us, in between our pub and the hairdressers. There's 2 flats, and there's a multitude of houses right behind us. So definitely closer than those houses are to that building. And like I said, so we've had one noise complaint in nearly 2 years. We don't want to upset anybody. We'd like you to be in there, enjoying the music. We're doing, in about a month's time, where some regulars of ours who used to organise Marsh Fest was raising money for the welfare centre in Huddersfield. That's what they did. They're putting on a day of music in our pub again. All funds going to the welfare centre in Huddersfield. So it's, and that's for a food bank. That's for underprivileged kids and families who can't afford things. So we'll work with anyone. We don't want to upset anyone, and we'd like you to enjoy the experience in there. So currently, when we've got music on, the doors and the windows are closed. So I think that's why in our venue, not in anyone else's, in our venue, and I can only go off our experience of not having any issues.
Yeah, the other question really is the question I had was, have you considered the differences? This is a residential area. All the residents actually live there, chose to live away from the centre of Slough. All the entertainment and music in Slough is in the village centre. The plan extends that into this residential area. Could a supplementary question is, did you know, you obviously have probably heard of the L Trail. How would we stop the L Trail people becoming disorderly, affecting your premises and affecting all us?
Well, I mean...
Sorry, could I say Meltham doesn't have a train station like we do?
No, it doesn't, no. But we still get a lot of customers. And we've never had an issue of any fighting, any... We've not had ale trailers, but I you know more about that than me. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you expect to open for special events outside of normal opening hours? For example, televised sports events. I noticed on your Fourth Bean Facebook page that you opened on Sunday for the Women's World Cup. I'm all for people watching the Women's World Cup, but that was outside of your normal opening hours. Do you intend to do that in Slough as well?
Yeah, that's not outside our normal... Oh yeah, it was, sorry, but not our licensing hours, yeah.
No, but it was outside your normal working opening hours?
For that, we probably would, yeah.
Okay. Which could be, obviously, quite early in the morning.
Well, no, I mean,
well.
if it was 7 o'clock, we probably wouldn't.
But you can't...
If it was an hour off, you know,
Still, it's outside of normal opening hours.
Yeah, and the pub was full of families.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, you've mentioned community and wanting to work with people. Less than 100 metres away from the entrance to this site is the entrance to the community centre for Slathwaite. And it's home to a number of children's groups. There's a nursery there, community toddler group, there's a scout group there, after school club, holiday club. And when the children come out of there, as they will be doing during the hours of your licence, they do so onto this narrow path on just one side of Bankgate.
On the pavement?
On the pavement, yeah, that narrow path. That one narrow pathway is the only way up to your venue and back again from the centre of the town. So your drinkers are going to be mixing with children. And I wondered what conversations you've had as somebody who wants to work with everyone in the community, with the people who run those children's groups, and what their concerns have been, if they've raised any.
But simply applying for the licence first, and then if we get the licence, get the change of use, then we'll be having conversations with working with people within the community.
Just one more question. You've compared what you've done in Meltham to what you plan to do here. Would you agree that there's a difference between residents arriving in an area like the centre of Meltham, where there's already a pub, there's already shops, there's already cafes, and what their tolerance of noise might be compared to people who've moved into an area that's purely residential and it's very peaceful and quiet of an evening and it's a weekend?
I mean, I live in the centre of Firth, probably the same distance from yourselves to the centre, but I mean, there is a reason why I live in the centre, so it's easy to go to nice bars and restaurants.
Yeah, and that makes sense. If you're happy with that and you're happy with the noise, you would move there.
Yeah.
If you wanted a quieter existence for yourself and your children, you might move to an area like this, where there are no licensed premises nearby.
Right. There's 2 licensed premises within 100 metres.
Twice the distance as a community centre, 200 I would say.
200?
Yeah.
Right, so there's Silent Woman and Rumpus. And then you've obviously got the cricket club, which is in the centre of a residential area, which is at the other side, which I believe has got a licence till 1 in the morning.
I don't know their licences hours. I don't live there. It is surrounded by cricket pitch, as you say. No one lives on the cricket pitch.
That's the cricket club. So yeah, they sell beer. Yeah, I've got a couple. The first is that you mentioned that you were brought in by the building's owners to have a look at it. And there is a big empty building mill there, just behind your premises. Do you know what the plans are they may have for the site itself and the rest of the activity that might be going on there?
They only own that building.
So the big empty mill, that I think the Garsides might have it just beyond it, is that being used at all? The second one on that point was that you mentioned you didn't think customers would be parking there. Have you any plans to stop them or to restrict access to the site?
Right, currently the landlords are still doing up the premises and the 3-bedroom flat, and as far as I'm aware, they will provide some outside space for us and then obviously put designated parking. So until they've done that.
But so there's no restriction people driving in to park the car there, but if they can't, then they'll be down the village with everybody else.
Well, I mean, people are allowed to park anywhere legally. As long as they're legally parked. If they're illegally parked, then it's a traffic warning.
No, I gather that. I just feel that your plans for the outside are so ill-formed and inexact. It's difficult to get a feel for exactly what's going to go on there.
So, Councillor Raddy, you're next. Do you want the residents to finish asking their questions, or do you want to come in now?
The residents can answer, finish if you like.
At the back, you've already asked a question. At the back, has anyone there got a question?
No, I don't think so.
No? Is it just yourself as a follow-up?
I just want to ask something.
Okay.
With the parking, obviously people will park. If you look at that junction there, if you can imagine, I've got no doubt you're a family-friendly organisation. I've seen the information about the craft, and I'm really, really in favour of including children in such things. However, if you look at that junction and think about the Fourth Fiend is in a former Conservative club. It's got pavement, a good sized pavement right next to it. It's got a good exit point with walking area around the front of it. It's very, very different from the exit there. Anybody coming out of that with their children, if they've been to a craft activity, or out with their mates after a night out, is going to be bang right into the road. If you've got people who have parked, albeit there's no double yellow lines, they could park along that by the wall. Yeah. Do you think that will impact on their safety, the safety of your customers, whether it's children who've gone to a craft event or it's people who've gone out drinking? Do you think it will impact on people's safety if there's a row of parked cars there because they've got nowhere else to go? Bearing in mind that it's very difficult vision anyway, up and down that road.
I envisage they'll cross the road onto the pavement on the other side.
Have you crossed the road onto the pavement yourself? Was it in a time with lots of traffic?
It was in mid-afternoon.
Right.
Because
it's not always easy.
On the lamppost.
Ah, right, okay. I just think when you've got a row of cars there, I do question the safety for the customers going in and out.
So I'm going to move to the councillors now in terms of questions. Could you just turn your councillor off? Councillor Addy?
Thank you. A few questions, mostly linked. You've mentioned outdoor tables. Is that in addition to the capacity indoors? Do you expect there to be 120 plus how many tables outside?
Yeah, probably in addition. I know it sounds like I'm being vague on some numbers, but at the minute, we've not had...
Just an idea. It's going to be extra.
Yeah.
And you mentioned 2 spaces for seating. Where will they be? Because I have been into the site. This bit at the front with the cars parked, there's some space behind. Is that part of your area?
So the area, in front of the big wooden doors, in front of there, before at the side of the steps.
Okay.
How far back, I don't know, because the landlords have not segregated it yet and made it safe for the road going past them.
You just mentioned maybe 4 members, maybe more members of staff, probably all with vehicles. That would take up pretty much all the parking that's available in there. So will it be closed to customer parking?
I envisage so, yeah.
There's a massive...
Also, there's going to be a 3-bedroom flat up there, and there's going to be... The top's going to be rented out somewhere as well.
So with their parking and bins and things, there isn't going to be any public parking really available?
I wouldn't have thought.
Right. The entranceway, where the public are supposed to come in and out, is very big. There's nothing to mitigate for people stumbling into the road after a drink or excited children. There is no pavement that people have mentioned. Is there any plans to make that safer, to maybe put something across it so people have to pause before they come out? Or could that be a plan?
As in... What?
A gate, big gate and a little gate. Something that make people stop before they come into the road.
Right.
Stop and think. Somewhere you could put a sign, busy road in front or something.
It's definitely something we could speak to the landlords about, yeah.
Cool. Now we talked about noise. There are lots of regulations that can be put on licensing permissions. Would you consider looking at some mitigation that might allay some of the concerns about noise? Windows closed, hours, restrictions on when you can have music, when you can have people outside drinking, when people have to come in. Would you consider that? Because I think there are a long way could be gone to mitigate further concerns.
Yeah.
And further down the road, just somebody's mentioned, yourself mentioned rumpus and other activities that go on there cause a massive problem. We've had to have a traffic regulation order put in place with massive cost. Double yellow lines are coming in. Further down the road, This is going to cause a very similar problem if it's got... I have seen people parked on this, but very rarely. The next building up has customers or contractors parked on it now and then. This side's got lots of opening. You will not be able to stop your customers parking, and 120 people is going to generate quite a few cars. Would you consider being the people to pay for the double yellow lines on this bit of the road so we don't end up with the same problem as further down?
Would who, sorry?
Would your company, if you're going to cause the traffic to come to this part of Slathwaite, would you be considered that, or with the mill owner, if that's going to be a commercial property that's attracting a lot of trade, not just one person coming in, one person going out, parking in the thing? You're going to have 120 people. How many cars do you think that would generate per night? And where will they go? If they're going to try and park on here, it's going to make the public safety issue much worse for people coming out when they can't see and there's people moving cars in a small space, lots and lots of exits. The public safety issue is what we're concerned about here, not the parking.
I mean, the 120 is what we...
Maximum?
Yeah.
No, so 50 people, how many cars may be generated on a Friday night?
Well, we don't... I mean, in Meltham, we don't even have a car. We don't have a car park.
You've got a massive car park behind the Carlisle, and you've got lots of side roads people can park on.
Stafford's got car park.
Yeah, they're a lot further away though, aren't they? They're not. This isn't in the centre. I know people, and the idea that they're going to walk up to there unless they're coming in a group en masse, maybe, such as the L Trail, such groups of people. Groups of people are loud and giddy and not necessarily unpleasant. But how could you mitigate for the parking? Is there anything you'd consider? It's too late once there's a licence and there's cars causing problems on there, then the council has to deal with it.
Right.
Is that a possibility?
I have no idea how much putting in our lines costs. So
Just a thought.
I'm say yes.
And, you know, well, we'd welcome the family-friendly community order. I've been in your bar in Meltham. It's a lovely atmosphere. It's not the bar that we're bothered about. It's the things it brings with it. So you would be up for mitigation, restrictions on your outdoor activity, opening, things that can be mitigated for on the noise.
I said yes.
Yeah. Let's just double checking that. Yeah. Thank you, that's all.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and thank you for coming today. And, you know, we all appreciate entrepreneurial spirit, and we're not against businesses expanding in principle. That is a good thing. There are just specific issues in relation to this site. I haven't got much to add from what's already been said, but you're asking us to take quite a lot of admittedly vague description on trust, and you're pointing to your record in your previous premises. That's trust that you are carrying as an individual with your business partner and you say your friend. So are one or a number of you planning to be a permanent feature on this site to fulfil the promises you've made today or may make today, or will that be delegated to somebody who may not have gone through this process with us?
We run the pub, so me and my two business partners. So you will see me.
Okay, I'm just conscious that it's quite a lot to run a brewery and two pubs personally.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And two children.
Okay, well, you're a better man than me.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so I think we've finished with the questions to the applicant.
Can I ask just one point on, you mentioned the music, does the licence allow outdoor music or not?
No, because the licensed area is within the internal bricks and mortar of the building.
So we can't have outdoor entertainment?
So, no. So the licensed area, which is what I want to try and establish with that red line. Where is that red line? It's the physical building itself. It's not outside. So he could not put a live band outside. He could not put a pay bar outside.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. You just because the application is specifically for the sale of alcohol on and off premises. Now, we had clarification earlier that was basically people buying cans inside and taking them home. But I don't understand what the off premises is there, because it's not a licensable activity to take cans away from a licensed premises inside. Does that phrasing imply that they could sell alcohol outside that line?
No. No. The off sales of alcohol are exactly how it sounds. So an off license. So you go to an off license, you buy alcohol from there, you take it home and drink it. You do not consume alcohol within the off-licence or the supermarket. Yeah, and it's exactly the same thing. So the on and off sales of alcohol are to buy it on site, consume it on site, to buy it on site, to consume it at home.
All right, thank you, everyone. Right, I'm going to move to the objectors, please. Again, I'll start with the lady there on my right. Yes, sorry, apologies. My colleagues just reminded me of something. So in the interest of time, what we have agreed is that each objector will have a maximum of 5 minutes to make representations. I'm sure you'll do it within the 5 minutes, well before the 5 minutes, but that's just there as a guide. Okay? Set the time. Okay? You can begin.
Building, thank you. The multi-storey building and the one in question, they're both called Bankgate. But they're on the side of the road without a pavement. Any parking there, it's a difficult road anyway. I don't know whether you can turn round so you can see the view down, or even go at the bottom and see the view as you come up. It's extremely difficult to see the entry and the exit, and I think that's a massive public safety issue. Even with a gate, to be honest, I think it would still be a problem, and then you're going to get banging gates possibly. Anybody who comes out, if you drive on we drive on the left. So if you could, can you move it over just a tiny bit? The other way. No. Okay. I had a good look. It's really, really difficult to see that exit at all. You can see it now because there's a white van in your line. That's actually, I think, in the access route. It's really, really difficult to see. As cars drive up, when they get the priority, they drive up the hill, they whack their foot down on the accelerator and they zip up to get up the hill. It's a very, very steep hill, which is why a lot of people do either get the bus or they drive. Most people drive, and I think they will park, and I think that will be a big public safety matter. It's also going to be public nuisance as well, with all the amount of noise that you get generated. I know you say that you're comparing with Meltham, and I can understand that. But in Meltham, your venue is in the middle of the centre. It's in the middle of would it be a district centre or would it be a town centre in Meltham? I'm not sure. But in Slowett, the district centre that we found from the Kirklees council site, it's actually much, much smaller. It doesn't include Bankgate. So the district centre is in the middle where you get all the shops and the facilities. Bankgate's up there. It doesn't even fit on the map. This is off the Kirklees website. The Kirklees local plan says that for a district centre, and we're not in the district centre, Bankgate is not in the district centre, to provide a range of shopping for everyday needs and serving specialist markets, to be the local focus for basic financial services, food and drink, entertainment, leisure and tourist facilities and health services. That's on page 77 of the Kirklees local plan. It also says, and I'm not sure whether maybe the chair and maybe somebody can help with that, it says to do with a sequential test. What's a sequential test? It's on page 77 of the Kirklees local plan, and it says sequential test, proposals which come forward for main town centre uses which are located outside of the defined centre boundaries, which this would be, will require the submission of a sequential test. I just didn't know what that was. I'm not the only one by the looks of it.
Yes, planning issues, no one here from
Right. So I didn't get... Shutter.
The sequential test is regards to planning, and it's for sort of supermarkets and shops and that sort of thing, on whether if you put one out of the town centre area, what impact that would have on those in the town centre area. That's my understanding of it from a planning perspective.
So it wouldn't have anything to do with the fact this premises has never ever, to our knowledge, or it's never been a licensed premise? Because this is the crux of things really for us, is that this is not currently a licensed premise. The Meltham site, that was before because it was a conservative club. It's oh gosh, that went quick. It's surrounded. So that was my bit anyway.
So as little repetition as possible would be helpful. Okay?
Okay,
Gentleman
thanks,
next to you next.
So I wanted to deal with really the questions that I've been raising, is the differences, because Chris has raised the comparison with Meltham. We do need to compare to Meltham in that sense because he's raised that. And we did some research, my wife mainly, about the noise level in Meltham on one evening when you had a band, and it was hundreds of metres away that we still heard the music. It was your big blues night. It went from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and it was really loud, and we submitted a video of that, but it wasn't able to be played, apparently. So if you transfer that to this area, this noise would emanate into about 1,000 residences, all the streets around, because this is a residential area. The differences between Meltham and here is very important because we don't have the car parking, actually. In Meltham, you've got so much car parking, it doesn't become an issue about the issue for us is car parking. Car parking down this road would become a massive public safety area. If the customers mainly walk, as Chris has suggested, to be honest, a lot of them wouldn't walk up that steep hill. But if they do walk up to the residence, the narrow pathway, further down towards the centre of Slough, it's a one-person pathway with a safety barrier for the community centre, the church, and the school. And children walk up and down this in the weekend. And adults do. Now, I feel that as a 77-year-old, rather vulnerable resident, my interest is not served by this application because it really is in a situation of taking away our mental health and welfare if this is allowed to go on. No previous licence existed. I went to live in this area for the quiet area that it is. As you can see there, it's a one-way road under the bridge. It's a very restricted area, and our area is a quiet residential area which will become very disturbing for all our residents. All our bedrooms actually face the premises. We won't get to sleep. Many of us go to sleep much earlier. The children's bedrooms, which have windows open, they will be kept awake early in the evening and further on. Sorry. And sorry, I'm a bit emotional about it because it's going to so affect our lives. And I've understood Chris is a community person. The community have had no consultation about this, really. We had 2 little notices that we spotted on the lamppost, and that's all. And as far as we're concerned, this is going to totally disrupt our lives and be public safety. It's going to be a threat to disorder and the other conditions that pertain to granting a licence. It's going to, all 4 of them are going to be affected if this is allowed to go ahead. Thank you.
Obviously, I am a resident of Bankgate. If you continue up the road, my house is on the right-hand side. My house is about 10, 15 metres away from the property across the road. As the houses are elevated, all of the front windows of the house look over Bankgate Mills. I have two daughters, aged 6 and 4. My daughter's bedroom window looks directly into the outside area outside of the building. She would, from the window and all the other windows in the house, she may witness inappropriate behaviour, smoking. You've said the smoking area would be at the front, so my daughters would see people smoking and vaping. They would also hear bad language if the windows were open, but it would mean probably I wouldn't be able to open the windows during the summer months. It would also really affect their sleep. As I said, one of my daughter's bedrooms is at the front. My other daughter sleeps in with me and my husband, which also faces the front of the house. Poor sleep results in poor schooling and affects their mental health, according to the NHS and the Sleep Foundation. But it's not just my children. It's children going up and down Bankgate. As my neighbour has said, it is used heavily by children who live at Hilltop and on the school run. My two children walk to school and walk back from school. They also use the local after-school club, which is at the bottom of Bankgate. There is also a nursery there. I've actually been given a statement by the nursery and after-school club that I'd like to read.
Can you spell in a second and some advice from the legal advisor on that? Is that okay?
Thank you. Thank you. The first concern we have is the safety and welfare of the children and the families we have. Walking our children down from the top of Bankgate, as well as parents taking their children to and from the clubs, potentially could be confronted with drunken, animated pub goers. Parents should not have to worry about what their children see and hear on their journeys to and from our care and when they play outside. Next in our concerns is that of the congestion on the roads. The increase of parking makes it dangerous for the general public to walk up and down Bankgate and extremely difficult for our parents to park safely in and around the area. This project, to be even considered, never mind go ahead, is complete ignorance to those people that work and live in and around the area. That brings me to another point about the parking. I know the parking's been mentioned previously, but parking is likely on Bankgate. Currently, people don't park on Bankgate because people park in the village. If there is no parking, customer parking outside of the building, people will park on Bankgate. They are likely to park on the footpath, which is a danger for children walking up and down the footpath. It's also a danger for anybody pushing a pram or using a wheelchair. As we've also said, Bankgate is a steep road. There is an issue with people speeding down, which is why the chicane was put in at the bottom underneath the railway bridge. So people speeding down, anybody crossing the road, we've already said, if you are having children there, and I fully appreciate it's a family-friendly venue, as the one in is Meltham, but they have to cross that road, and that road can be really busy. It is used by the local fire service to get to the M62 and to Moreland Fires. They have to race up the road. If you have children crossing over there, they can't be seen coming out of that concealed entrance, and that is a major concern to all of us. I'd also like to say we did not choose to live and raise our children across from a bar. If we did, I would have lived in the centre of Meltham or the centre of Slough. I did not choose to do that. Bankgate Mills is an inappropriate location for such a business, and the idea of it opening is causing great stress to myself and my neighbours. I hope that the application is reconsidered. But I'd also like to say there was a question about the mill at the back, the derelict mill. That has a planning application to be converted into apartments and to houses being built. They would require access, but that would also, that planning application has not gone through, but I thought I'd just make you aware that there is a planning application for more housing behind the building.
I'm in a very similar situation to our neighbour who's put it brilliantly. Just want to add my personal situation. I've got 3 children, aged 8, 13 and 15, and they'll also be witness to alcohol-fueled adult language, drunken behaviour, and as we've heard today, smoking as well, at the front of the building till 11 p.m. each night for the rest of their childhood. I've got an 8-year-old who still has most of his school life ahead of him, a 13-year-old who will start her GCSEs in 2024, and a 15-year-old who will be sitting her GCSEs later this year. So I'm concerned about the disruption to their study time, their play, their rest and their sleep for the foreseeable future. It'll be damaging to both their education and to their general well-being. Because only one side of Bankgate has a pavement, as we see here, my teenage daughters will have to pass groups of drinkers on a single narrow pathway as they come to and from our home and into the town centre. If they feel uncomfortable or intimidated, their options are to step out into the road or take their chances amongst drunk people. I'd rather they didn't have to do so. We've mentioned the community centre and the many children's groups and the hundreds of children who use that centre just down the road from here. But there's also a church, St James's Parish Church, is next to the community centre. It has close links to Slathwaite Church of England Junior and Infant School and hosts events such as nativities, carol concerts and end-of-year celebrations put on by the school. And these young children arrive at the venue by the same single pathway that runs along one side of Bankgate at the same time as this licence would be in operation, at the same time as drinkers would be coming to and from the venue. So yet again, children mixing with drinkers. It's disappointing that no effort has been made by the applicant to consult with these children's groups or indeed residents with children in the neighbourhood. In all of these cases, the proximity of the pub to children's centres and to the homes of children on the road that's only paved on one side will expose children to alcohol-related activities, inappropriate behaviour and potentially harmful situations. It seems to run completely counter to the council's own vision for children that they spell out in their Children and Young People's Plan, which is about, which has at the centre of its main objectives to ensure that all children in Kirklees have the best possible start in life. And it's difficult to see how that vision can be reconciled with this application.
Thank you. I've got both a personal and a community angle to this. Before I do, I'd just like to say I'm very disappointed at how sketchy the plan is and how little detail we've been given by the applicant. It seems to be making up on the hoof, so to judge quite what he wants is quite difficult. But I'm pleased that there's no outdoor music. That will help. I live opposite the premises, but going the other way. I'm the other side of the reservoir. So on that picture to the left, stage right, it is some distance, but the topography of the area, with the reservoir bowl one side and the slope the other, means the sound comes straight across. I can hear the cricket club, and that's fine, but they're a lot further up Bankgate than this is. So any sound from there is just simply kept within the valley and will travel straight across. On the community point, I'm delighted to know there's double yellow lines coming down by Rumpus. Absolute nightmare. That's where the kids from Two Gates cross every day to go to the community centre. Parking there is horrific, but if parking there is now limited, where's it going to go? It's going to go up Bankgate, or it's going to tip further out like a spider's web. So we really don't want any more traffic looking for somewhere to park, if there's even less places for it to park than there are now. Sloughat's got an awful lot of places to eat and drink and be merry, which is great. It's up and coming. It's got loads of venues. Within a couple of 100 metres of the centre, you've got 3 pubs, you've got wine bars, you've got music. It's all there. We just really don't need another one, particularly one that's 100 metres from the rest of them into the residential area. So I really can't see the need, and I just don't understand why the impact would be accepted for something the residents don't want. Thank you.
Hi, yes. Well, just to reiterate, our concerns were on the case of noise, which you can see there's lots of mitigation could be done to limit noise, limit the outdoor time, limit the music hours, closing of windows. And I would see that those would help with the noise problems. However, when it comes to public safety, we're really struggling to see how the conflict of drinkers coming out of this big, wide, difficult to see exit, and the safety then of having cars parked, which hampers that even further, when we've had so many problems literally a few yards down the road without some restrictions put in place or something done to correct that. And then there is, of course, the conflict of users using the very small pathways. But mostly, you know, whatever can be done to mitigate for the noise, the gateway, etc. I can't see how, unless we can do something with the road, that we're going to mitigate for the traffic, the parking that it will generate, and the safety issues that will cause with people coming out, particularly when they've had a drink.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, lots of excellent points already been made, much better than I could make them. Two that I would just kind of emphasise from our point of view as councillors around public safety and around the prevention of crime and disorder. Bankgate, as has been discussed, is a relatively narrow road, even narrower in places than is being shown. And any extra parking cars on that road are going to be tempted, as is common all over Kirklees, to park partially on the pavement, because that's what people do. It's illegal, but they shouldn't do it, but they do. And that means that anybody walking up, particularly if they're pushing a pram or in a wheelchair or need extra space for whatever accessibility issues they may have, would be forced into the road, which has been said, is dangerous. That to me is a relevant public safety concern that can't really be ignored. Secondly, it's been touched on but not really elaborated upon already by others. We already have significant alcohol-related antisocial behaviour problems in our ward, not so very far away from this. There's a Silent Woman pub which has many problems and an ongoing police involvement. And the Ale Trail has people coming in from Manchester and Leeds who don't have any loyalty to the area, don't have any respect for the area, often, not always, but often, causing umpteen problems, then getting on the train and going home. At the moment, those problems are contained, by and large, to the village centres, where you would expect the licensed premises and that kind of activity to be. This would expand that considerably into a residential area, and we know that we don't want it, and we certainly know the police won't want it. I respect the applicant's reassurances that that's not currently a problem at their current premises and that they don't want that to be a problem, but I do think it may well be beyond their control who turns up, because it is a different kind of person that comes on the Ale Trail through the valley on the train.
Thank you. Okay, so we've heard from all the objectors who want to make representations today. There are 18 representations, and normally I'd probably read all of them or read the ones where the individuals are not here to make representations. I don't think it's in anyone's interest for me to do that. And actually there's a level of repetition, so I don't think it's necessary. But I think it's important for me to point out some of the issues that haven't been raised today, which some of the objectors have raised. So there was something around odour, which I put to the applicant, around odour, preparing food. There's a concern of that causing a nuisance. Wildlife as well, particularly impacting birds and owls. That's something that came up. And finally, increased lighting in and around the building, which would impact negatively on residents and wildlife. So those are the other things that I've picked out of what I've read in respect of the objectors. So this is now an opportunity for the applicant to respond to what's been said.
That mill is going to be rented out to two businesses, either us on the ground floor and someone else on the top floor. Regardless, if it's not us, it's somebody else. So a lot of these issues, lighting, smells, traffic coming in and out, will be happening regardless of whether we get this licence. It's not. Again, I know people keep saying this is a residential area rather than a town centre, but where our pub is there's residents all around it, and we've had no issues of odours, smells, one complaint of noise. So I can only go off fact from our current place.
And I think to add to the back of what you've said there, to be fair, the licensing officer indicated in the beginning that responsible authorities had an opportunity to respond to the application and no one has responded. So if there were some issues, possibly we would have heard some more about that.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, so we've come to the close of the panel hearing today, and I'd like to give everyone an opportunity to sum up. Just bear with me a second.
Is it okay if I ask the whole council the question?
Of course.
Yeah, the question is, are there any PSVOs in the area that you're aware of from the police?
Could you put your console on? I couldn't hear what you said. Are there any?
PSPOs in the area from the police. No, PSPOs, you know, when they do antisocial part of the area.
There are, yes, there are.
Councillor, I did mention that, didn't you? You mentioned that in your submissions. There was one, you mentioned that there was something similar nearby?
So yes, there has been problems with the clientele of the pub very nearby, next to now basically. They're on the plan for the licence there to correct the situation.
Just out of interest, how close in proximity is that establishment?
Well, as the applicant mentioned, there's the next part down, so did we say 200 metres or so to the south, and then Rufus and that?
Yes, at the bottom of the road.
Just where you see the bridge, it's just there to the right.
Councillor Bellamy?
Can I just ask, because I do know that there is a PSPO that covers the centre of Slathwaite, but does it actually cover up Bankgate? Does anybody know the answer to that? Because I don't know whether it goes that up.
It's only in the area where it's been
Yeah,
illustrated into. So.
but I'm not too sure how far that area goes out. Further up the valley, I actually do know how far it goes out, but I'm not too sure how far it goes out from the centre of Slathwaite. I know it goes up to the train station, but does
Yeah, I
it
was
go up
just gonna say
Bankgate?
It could confirm.
I was just going to say, I suspect it's the main centre and up to the train station in connection with the ale trail issues and stuff, isn't it? I don't think it would expand this far, to be truthful, because the incidents haven't been in this area. Once you get to the train station, you're out of the village and then on the train.
The lady over there's got a hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Is this the public urination thing? Public urination and defecation thing?
It's a public space protection order.
And so that's because of the out. So it doesn't cover our area.
We don't have that information to hand.
Oh God, I thought it did.
We know it exists somewhere in Slathwaite, I think is fair to say. We don't know whether it covers it goes as far or covers the full range of area. Often what happens, it's like an injunction. It's limited to a particular space for a particular reason. There's got to be a reason why it's limited to that space.
Right.
So we don't have that information to hand, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Okay, so we've come to the end. I'd like to thank everyone for attending, for talking and making representations, and also an opportunity really now for everyone to sum up. So if you could say something or make representations, something that I think can stick in the minds of the panel who are having to make the decision on whether to grant the licence, not grant the licence, put conditions on the licence. Something that's going to stay with us, that's really going to make us think very carefully about what's been said. In a way, summing up very simply, where you can leave us with that message. I think that's what I'm trying to allude to. So I'm going to start with the licensing officer, please.
Chair, thank you. Yeah, I don't have a great deal to add. The only thing that I would like the panel to consider, I guess, would be if you decide to place any conditions on this licence referring to live music. We've got to bear in mind that live music is not on this licence as a licensable activity because it's been done under the Deregulation Act. I'm sure Mr Hanif will give you legal advice on whether that can be done. I know it can be done if this was a review hearing, but I spent a lot of time yesterday trying to find out if this could be done at a grant hearing. And I know legislation is definitely open to interpretation, but I'm not too certain. So, thank you.
Move over to the applicant.
Yeah.
As it
I would refer to Kirklees Council's own documentation on child safety and welfare, on mice welfare and safety, and on the L Trail, that we have so much problems in Marsden and Slough with the L Trail that there is this special order that I can't remember the name of it, Public Order Act, to control the problems of public, what's it called? Defecation and so on. That has to have a special order. I think Chris is underestimating the problems that would face from the L Trail coming up this road and into his premises, and the effect on the residents is going to be devastating. Thank you.
I just want to say, with regards to what Chris mentioned about, it doesn't matter if they go in there as a business, the building will be taken by a business of some sort. There has always been a business in there since I've lived there. I think the owners of the building had been there for 25 years. We're not objecting to a business going in there, we're objecting to the type of business going in there, and that's why we're objecting to the alcohol licence, not a planning application. And it's the alcohol licence that we've all objected to for all the reasons that we've given. And as I've said, we did not choose to buy that house and have 2 children and raise them opposite a bar. We just simply didn't. And as every will in the world, there will be noise and there will be disruption, no matter what a bar owner says and how they will say they will, tell their customers to respect residents. It simply doesn't happen, and especially with the ale trailers, that, as we've said, they don't have respect for the area because they don't live there. So it is a huge concern to me and the rest of my neighbours, and neighbours that haven't objected because they were unaware of the application as well. So I'd like it to be reconsidered. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the kind of pub that's very popular at this moment in time. It's just the wrong place, as the councillors for the ward have explained, because there are wider community issues that we're already dealing with around antisocial behaviour, public urination and defecation and violence. It's the wrong place because of safety issues. Drinkers are literally going to walk out onto the road, as we see on the picture behind you there. Residents moved here because it was away from licensed areas and entertainment and other places that would cause noise during antisocial hours. It's the wrong place because there are many children living very close by who have many years of schooling ahead of them. It's the wrong place because just down the road is a community centre that cares for hundreds of children from our community. And it's the wrong place by the council's own district plan, as it sits well outside of that centre where shops, businesses, entertainment, noise would expect to happen. So for us, it fails against all of the objectives of the licensing application and should be rejected on those grounds.
Slough has a great many licensed premises already, a huge variety, some with food, some with live music, but all in the right place in the middle. I don't think we need to add another one in the wrong place. Thank you.
Yes, I think Fiends venue would be a wonderful addition to the valley at some point, perhaps just not the right place for it. This has been a low footfall retail and manufacturing site running on daytime hours, as far as I'm aware. Whilst all the noise issues could be well mitigated for with some restrictions, I think the conflict of alcohol-fueled users in an area that's got a high footfall of children and the massive safety issues of a blind wide entrance for pedestrians and the extremely likelihood of parking up and down that road that will add to that conflict and danger. It's just unfortunately not in the right place for us at the moment.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just quickly, I think there are reasonable compromises that could be made in terms of mitigating for the noise, in terms of hours and windows and that kind of thing. But there are real questions about safety on that road, and if they're not addressed and somebody gets hurt, that's just going to be heartbreaking. And we really don't want to see an expansion of that antisocial behaviour into other people's lives, because it really is devastating, as some residents have said. So thank you.
Thank you. Right, okay, so we've listened to what everybody's had to say. We now need an opportunity to discuss it amongst ourselves. Can I ask everyone to leave the room so that we can do that? And we'll call you back in with the decision. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so thank you everyone for your patience. Thank you for taking part and being here in relation to this application for grant of premises licence. The panel have considered very carefully what has been said this afternoon, and the panel have taken the decision to refuse the application on the following grounds: protection of children from harm, public safety, and also public nuisance. And our main concerns were around children using the highways to and from school, the limited structure of the pavement, and the risk of coming into contact with potential customers. Also, the highways in respect of parking, that there's limited pavement and that there's only pavement on one side, increasing the risk of safety to children, adults, potential customers, and any other highways users. Also, the risk of noise nuisance and the close proximity of the premises to residential properties was a concern to us. Another concern in respect of nuisance was customers in particular coming and going potentially from the venue, which the applicant would find difficult controlling, and also the risk of antisocial behaviour. So that's a decision that's been made. Thank you everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.